This is the top of a coffee table I built a little while back. Unfortunately, I haven't been treating the top surface particularly well. So what I'm going to do is kind of sand it all back and try and refinish it. Just try and kind of bring it back up to a kind of a decent standard. There's also other kind of little bit of painting work on the base I want to do today. So this is a coffee table for a living room, but it also tends to be where I do a lot of my electronics work. So in order to try and tidy things up, what I did was build in a compartment in the back. The base of this is the containers in the base, and it's designed to accommodate a soldering iron and other kind of little bits of tools, but it all pack away in a kind of perfect, neat fashion. So the first thing I need to do is get the scratches and the kind of dings out of this. And so I think I'm going to take a belt sander to it and just try and kind of clear it back. The bit I'm not quite sure about is going to be the stain. Now I suspect I may end up with maybe a patchy finish, because I'll sand off some of the stain but probably won't all come off, and then when I re-stain it I'll get darker areas, but hopefully we'll see what happens when it comes to that. So this is the middle shelf from the coffee table. On the back here is the compartment for the little kind of hatch that's in the top surface, and so it's kind of built into as a solid unit. Now this is made out of birch ply, which I really like the finish of, so I kind of left it kind of bare. But you end up with kind of three finishes on the wood: the white for the legs, and the kind of American walnut finish on the top, and then this, which is just a bit too much. So what I'm going to do is paint this white. When I first made the table, I gave it a coat of wax. So after staining it, just had wax and that was it, which seemed okay to begin with, but it left it susceptible to staining, damaging. So what I'm doing at the moment is giving it a few coats of oil. I think that should kind of penetrate it a little better, should provide a better kind of protection for the wood. So I'm just about to give it its second coat of oil. So the worktop's had a couple of coats of oil now, and that's probably dried and soaked in. I've got some wax, which I'm going to use to give it a final kind of protective coating. Then it should be ready to go home and be reassembled. With the top finished and the base painted, it's time to reassemble this. It should be pretty straightforward. It's kind of self-locking in a sense. The only thing I think will be a little bit tricky is the extra thickness the paint has added to this. These corners make for a pretty tight joint, so I think it'll take a little bit of force to get that in. So this went together a lot easier than I was expecting it to. The joints are still pretty easy to mate, which is nice. So this thing's held together with just 8 screws. The legs are screwed onto the top. This is a floating level, but it's a tight fit that it's not needed. The top layer, or the top insert here, just sits on the upper edge of the inner compartment. Yeah, it's very easy to put together, pretty easy to construct, and it looks pretty good, I think.